How's it going, everybody? Today's video, this is going to be a restoration of a 1952 Delta Rockwell 14-inch bandsaw. What makes this bandsaw special is it's a wood metal bandsaw, so it has a transmission in there. It's an oil-based transmission that allows you to cut metal. You have to slow the blade speed down significantly to be able to cut metal, so what you do is you open up the belt guard there, hit this lever, and that will engage the transmission, therefore slowing the speed down and letting you cut metal, whether it's aluminum, steel, just anything that needs a slower blade speed. So what we're going to do today is we're going to go through, take this thing completely down to the frame, sand it, paint it, put it all back together, put on new hardware where it needs it. I'm going to see if I can save this, that's the sticker that said Delta. I don't think I can save it. I think it's pretty well shot. If you're wondering why it's painted that orange color and named Dawn, the old owner of this had a shop, and every one of his tools was named a different name and painted a different color, so he could tell the new employee, hey, go over that bandsaw right there named Dawn and cut whatever needed to be cut. So with that, let's get ready to start the teardown of the saw. So right here, we're taking off all the blade guards, taking off the table, the trunnion assembly, getting ready to pull these wheels off. You have to use a puller sometimes. You know, it's a 70-year-old saw. It's got a lot of dust and corrosion holding on every bolt and nut. So, you know, WD-40 is your friend on these teardowns. Also, these little impact driver guns, you usually use for screwdrivers. Put a socket on there. They work great, like a mini impact gun. With these old stands, there's a lot of nuts and bolts and washers. Plastic bags are going to be your friends on this. Put everything in a plastic bag, label it really well, because you're not going to remember where it went. Yeah, you'll eventually figure it out, but save yourself some time and label everything really well. Then 4 weeks later, 2 months later, whenever you get back to reinstalling it, you'll know where it came from. Right here, we're draining the oil out of this. Delta says, if you look at the old literature when they made these saws, it says 1,000 hours when you're supposed to change the oil on these things. This also has probably never had the oil changed, and 70-year-old oil, probably not the greatest. And if you dig around in there, when you pull that transmission off, you can actually feel some of the sludge. That pan-up shot right there, that was just the overhead hoist I used to lift up tools. It is a back saver. Highly recommend getting it. There's your fill cap right there. Has a little chain to keep you from losing the cap when you have to top it off with oil. And yeah, change your oil, save your transmission. Same thing here, just taking off the transmission, using that little impact driver, works great. That's me digging out the sludge. There's actual sludge inside there that you have to dig out. And, you know, if you leave it in there and you use that saw on a regular basis, it's not good for it. I mean, it's like lapping compound. Here we are sanding it. A note with sanding these old pieces of equipment. Yes, in 1978, they got rid of lead-based paint, but that was for residential. There was, it wasn't gotten rid of completely for industrial purposes. You know, you don't know what the history of these saws are and how far into the timeline that they used lead-based paint. So use a respirator, be careful. And the stuff that I'm not going down to the original paint with this. I'm just taking off what was spray painted on there or just scuffing it up. I'm assuming the spray paint, the red color there you see, was not lead-based, so I felt okay doing it in my driveway. If not, take it to a sandblaster, pay some money. They have the way to abate it and not have it get all over your driveway. Right here, using gasket maker. Gasket maker works great. They came with the old felt gaskets back in the day, but this stuff you just put on both the mating parts there, and I've had no issues with it. You can get any hardware store. It's cheap. It's easy. Starting all the bolts by hand. If you use a impact driver to start them, you will cross thread them and you will create yourself a nightmare. So, you know, always start things and always, you know, torque them down by hand. You know, using the little impact driver, it's great, but there's a time and place for it. So right here, we're starting the priming process. I have this awesome paint booth, my front yard, and I'm also now doing everything inside because in Portland, Oregon, it rains 10 months out of the year. So got the door halfway open, trying to keep some heat in and keep the rain out. Those little engine hoists, they work great for this, and just making do with what you have. So this is the part of the process during the reassembly phase where you're really going to thank yourself for your organizational skills at the disassembly phase. Having all your bolts and nuts in one bag that says, hey, this goes to the stand, this part goes to the motor, this part goes to the frame. It sounds dumb. but it saves you so much time. And yes, you'll eventually figure out where they all go, but when it's organized, it just goes together so much smoother. So here, just putting on the wheels, takes a little bit of persuasion with the hammer, putting nuts on, making sure everything's bolted down. And this is just it's a process. And these videos, it looks like it all went together in one take. But there's a lot of editing, and there's a lot of stuff that I didn't put in here. Like when I put that frame together, I did not put in the fact that I put it together wrong, so all the holes that the bolts go through for the belt guard were on the mismatched side. So yeah, these videos are cool to watch, but you know, there's a lot of stuff that's not shown in these. So just keep that in mind, that these are a lot of work. This is the trunnion assembly. This is the part that bolts on to the saw itself. And then when I put when I'm tightening the trunnions down on the cast iron table itself, I set it on there so to make sure both the trunnions on the table and the saw are lining up, and then I bolt them down, because if not, you can get one cattywampus and it will bind up on you. Pulling off the stickers off the old tags there. And the bolts, or the little nuts that hold on the belt guard, they were the red color, and I wasn't able to save them, so I made my own. And lathe makes quick work of this. Yes, I'm hand tapping that because I am not to the point yet of skill, and it's more of an art to use the lathe to do an internal thread. Maybe one day I'll get to that point, but not at this point. Here, just getting ready to put in this is the little filler cap. I use a little Teflon tape there. I just figure it's, going to make it better seal. For the oil, 80-90 weight, conventional. The manual that came with these back in the 50s said just a heavyweight gear oil. And then this is the old cord. It was pretty shot. So if you have old equipment like this, always go through the electrical, because it's a huge fire hazard, because that sheathing that's on all those individual wires comes apart over time, especially the old stuff. And you want to be safe. You don't want to have your shop burn down. So here is the finished product. This is about, like I said, 60 hours worth of work. As you can see there, I did get the retirement light on there. I did not get a chance to videotape the installation of that. It is pretty straightforward. And also there's that wooden part there. That is the blade guard going down the back side. I did not get a chance to film the building of that and how I attached that. So apologize for not having the camera rolling during that time. And then this is just going through showing the finished product there, the belt guard. You could paint these things without tearing them all apart, but the quality is not going to be the same. It's not going to be as crisp. There's something about having all the bolts, nice and shiny, and not having paint off them, or not having to try to tape them off while you paint them. And yeah, this is tearing apart's kind of a lot of work, but the results are a lot better. So for that retirement light, there you can see I had those stick-on twist ties right there. That's how I'm routing the wire that goes up the back there and goes into that upper column that goes over, and that's how you run the light. So there's the saw. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and thank you for watching the video.